feel like you kind of manifested that a little bit. Like you figured out chickens was maybe the type of contract you're looking for. And then all of a sudden there's like an opportunity really close to like, wow.
I mean, cause you guys you know, as well as I do. And most anybody in ag knows it's just a capital game, and it's just too hard to get into, and it's not easy. And, you know, honestly, I don't know, maybe we're crazy, but smart people might go find something else to do. But when you love it, you want to try and find any way you can to, you know, try and stay in it and do what you can. So, you know, when you're 19 years old, 20 years old, you don't have a dime to your name. But I had nothing. I think I can remember, I'll keep this in my head, you know, probably until the day I die, but I started and I was like, the only thing I have is a 2010 F-150 pickup, and that was it. So,
this is Ragan and Massey's Farms of America podcast. This season, we invite each family featured on Farms of America docuseries to talk about farming, their experience on the show, and what's new on the farm. This is Baptista Farms, a first-generation poultry farm in Nebraska.
I knew that being a young kid, nobody's going to take me seriously, so I had to kind of grow up and do that, and that's what I kind of did. So I kind of buckled up and I said, you know, we're in it for the long run. And I said, well, we don't want to let this thing go by the wayside. I guess that's just kind of what we did, and we just kept going from there.
Ragan and Massey's Farms of America podcast, brought to you by Ragan and Massey. Zemua.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
I'm doing great. Beautiful Friday morning.
You betcha.
It's early. Thanks for doing this.
Nope, your problem. Earlier the better. It works out great.
So we have a bet going. Can you help us solve it?
Okay, yeah.
I'm like, Z's been up for 2 hours, man. He's done chores. He's probably back in, just check on the family.
And I'm like, no way.
No, you're right. Maybe on a normal day, or maybe a few years
So
ago.
I won?
It's Friday morning. It's him a break.
So Matt has to do push-ups? Okay. That's how we solve bets in our family, is with push-ups most of the time.
Yeah, well, sometimes I figure on how much can I get done if I get up that much earlier. And some days it's like, well, if I got to be home by 7 and I go out and try and start something, I know that something's going to happen, or I'm not. I'm make it back. So I was just like, well, let's just stay home. We'll just sit around the house for a little bit, and then we'll jump on. And I think it'll be better than trying to go to the farm and then come back, because we live.
Oh yeah, you're 10 minutes.
We're similar.
Yeah.
To you with that.
I'm the exact same way. I live about 10 minutes or 10 to 12 minutes off farm. So yeah. Once you commit, that's
it's tough to drop it and swing back home if you can help it. So
I will tell you, as your kids get older though, I do feel like that balance is nice, because you can't just walk outside and keep working any hour of the day. So it does, I think, kind of help you a little bit. Like Matt's parents still live on the farm, and they don't get that balance. Like they probably wouldn't want it any other way anyways. But I do feel like you'll see that, you know, it is kind of nice, out of sight, out of mind, just a little bit, just enough.
Yeah. Well, so, I hope you're right. Hope you're right about that, because it seems like now it's tough to.
It's inconvenient.
Yeah, it is. And it's been an adjustment. I'll tell you that. You know, you don't have kids, and you can do whatever you want, work as long as you want, and then all of a sudden everything changes. You throw 2 or 3 into the mix, and then all of a sudden you got to try and make time. And I'm sure you guys obviously know everything about that. And it's a tough thing, that's for sure.
Well, congrats on baby 2 as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, baby girl,
boy.
Gotcha.
So 2 boys.
2 boys.
Awesome.
Watch out.
Congrats.
2 monsters, honestly.
Wow.
2 little future wrestlers, maybe.
Yeah. Our oldest, he's every day when I get home, Dad, let's wrestle. I'm like, oh geez.
4, or how old is he?
He'll be 3 in March.
Okay. he's already got the wrestling.
That's awesome.
Mindset. That's good.
Yeah.
So we're from Iowa, right? So we just think your wrestling career is pretty awesome.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I can't remember from Nebraska, which way are you guys in Iowa?
We're on grass side. Yeah. So we're
not far from Iowa City. So we both went to Iowa. We were like 15 minutes from University of Iowa.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll let that go.
I know.
Yeah, but kind of jump in with us, man. Like, we enjoyed your episode, like just your story of, just kind of, I don't know, what did you do to kind of find the 100 acres? I'm curious. Did you start calling, or did you have a spot in mind?
Yeah. So
go after?
Yeah, so where I'm from, it as the crow flies, I guess it'd be like 30 miles originally from where I'm from, and that's where I kind of wanted to be. And I just kind of found out that it wasn't going to work. There just wasn't enough ground kind of in the area at the time for what we wanted to do, and we wanted to be in the county just next to us, and that their zoning was pretty tough, and you had to be 3/4 of a mile from any house. And I mean, I'm sure you guys deal with the same thing. It's pretty darn tough to get 3/4 of a mile from a house. So then I went to the county after that, which would be Butler, where we're at now, and I just kept looking around until something finally popped up. And I don't know, maybe it was God's way of saying this is the piece of ground that you're supposed to be on, because the guys that we bought it from, we're still pretty good friends today, and they custom some of our ground and do some of that stuff for us. So it just, I don't know, everything's kind of worked out pretty well, and I guess I'm not upset that I didn't end up as close to home as I wanted to be. So that's just kind of how we ended up with that piece of ground.
Happens for a reason.
And you were literally 18, 19 years old, like looking for that piece?
Yeah, I was a sophomore, I think, in college.
Yeah.
So take us back for a minute, because Matt played football at Iowa. And so I'm very familiar with watching him go through the time management. And I mean, you're basically like have a full-time job when you're a Division I athlete. And on top of that, you were already trying to plan out your future and working on this contract. And so take us back a little bit. What gave you the drive to want to tackle this at the same time as your life was so demanding in other ways as well? And it seems like you grew up rather quickly. So take us back, like how did that all come about?
Right. Well, and like Matt knows, I mean, just when you have to manage your time, and you have to kind of you can still be a kid, but you have to be a little more responsible, because obviously you got school to worry about and sports to worry about. You kind of, I don't know, you might be a little more grown up than you think already. And I guess I knew that I wanted to farm, and I didn't think it was going to happen as quickly, but the opportunity kind of popped up, and I said, well, if I don't do this now, maybe there's not another chance. So I said, well, I guess we're going to give it a shot. And I didn't realize, I guess, all it was going to take at the time. But, I can remember putting in my plans, getting all my budgets and stuff together and going into FSA, try and get a farmer loan and some of those kinds of things. And they were like, well, geez, like, you're 19. How do you have all this stuff put together already or whatever? And I said, well, I thought everybody just put a budget together and, kind of did it that way.
Because that's what you told me I had to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. They're like, well, we have some 40-year-olds that come in here, and they just come in with a piece of paper and they say, I want a loan. I said, well, I guess I knew that being a young kid, nobody was going to take me seriously. So I had to kind of grow up and do that. Yeah. And that's what I kind of did. So I kind of buckled up, and I said, we're in it for the long run. I know this is going to be my future. I was okay at wrestling, wrestling at the Division I levels. It's pretty tough. And I was just okay. I wasn't good enough. I knew I wasn't going to make a future out of it or have a career. And I said, well, there's certain things I guess a guy probably wants to focus on. And I knew that I wanted to farm. And I was like, if this opportunity, stepped up. And I said, well, we don't want to let this thing go by the wayside. So we better start figuring out what we need to do. And I guess that's just kind of what we did. And we just kept going from there. I know my dad he's a huge help. Obviously he was there, the whole time. And they gave me some, financial back help, because without that, I probably couldn't have done everything I did, because, when you're 19 years old, 20 years old, you don't have a dime to your name. And I had nothing. I think I can remember, I'll keep this in my head, probably until the day I die, but I started and I was like, the only thing I have is a 2010 F-150 pickup, and that was it. So it's like
2010. That sounds familiar.
I had a 2012 F-150. Yeah,
is that the white one?
My first car was where you fell in love with me was a 1990 red Camaro, red interior, dude, red rims. Like, I'm older, but back in the day, you had like flip down CD players and all the boosts. Like, it was.
He picked me up in that thing in the dorms once, and I was like so embarrassed to get in. I was like, what is this?
Whatever. Now what? 20 years later almost? Yeah. No, yeah. Basically 20 years.
Something like that. I don't know. Something like that.
Don't sell your stuff short, Z. 47 at 16 as a college wrestler is pretty good too. I mean, you said you just average.
Yeah. So who did you match up with at Iowa? Because we really are big wrestling fans. So when you were at Nebraska, who were you wrestling with in your weight, or what weight were you?
Yeah, so I would have wrestled 149 and 157. So, but see, like I said, I was good enough to be on the team, but I wasn't that good. I didn't start, I was behind a couple really good wrestlers, for 3 years or 4 years anyway. And then when I finally, would have had the chance to actually, get my chance to be out there, it would have been my 5th year, but I was taking 15 credits and trying to farm full time. And I was like, well, something's got to give, and obviously it had to be wrestling because you were in school for 4 years. I was like, well, I'm not leaving this place without a degree, so obviously that we had to finish that.
Yep.
And then I had to, obviously, continue, with the operation because we're an hour away from Lincoln, where the university is, and I mean between trying to drive back and forth and trying to finish school, it was just too much. I was either gonna go crazy or something was gonna fail. So I just, I kind of had to hang up the shoes. So
Yeah.
No, you got to evaluate those things. What year was that? What year was the Barnes completed and kind of pushed you into the 15-year contract?
Yeah, so it would actually be this month in a couple days, 6 years ago that we got started. Construction was finished and we got started. I mean, obviously the ball got rolling a few years before that, with trying to mow the ground and, actually getting that, and then construction and all that kind of stuff. So I'm starting to get dated now. I was probably
6. I know.
Did you always have an interest in chickens, or was that simply the opportunity that gave you what you needed to kind of get into farming in general?
Yeah, it was more so. I guess when I went to school, I really kind of knew my dad. He's a pretty smart guy, and he's like, you're not going to go buy 1,500 acres. You're not going to go out and buy 200 cows. It's just not gonna work right away. That's not something that's probably pretty feasible. And he's like, look at a contract. Look at something where, it's going to be a little bit easier, for the bank to even look at it or say something. So I kind of knew, hogs have kind of been, they've been where they've been for, quite some time. It's all right if you get into it early enough or you've been in it for a while, you can probably make a living. But we kind of found that chickens were going to be, they were kind of on the up and coming, and it was, they were pretty good contracts and easier to get started on. So when I graduated high school, I knew that I was gonna put up chicken barns at some point. I thought I was gonna graduate, go get a job somewhere, have to work 10 years or so or something, and wait for the opportunity. But I remember I was at Iowa State and they got this truck wash. I needed to do something. I go crazy if I don't have a little bit of work to do. So they had this truck wash where hog pots would come in and cattle pots and everything else. So I would wash those. And the guy that owned the place came in and he's like, they're building this plant over there and I think it's in your neck of the woods. And I was like, well, where's it at? And he told me, and I was like, yeah, that's in my backyard. So I, did the research and found that. And I was like, well, I guess we'll just call them and see what they say. And I guess it's like, well, I guess we're going to put up some chicken barns quicker than I thought we were. And that's how we got into it.
I feel like you kind of manifested that a little bit. Like you figured out chickens was maybe the type of contract you're looking for. And then all of a sudden there's like an opportunity really close to home.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Wow.
I mean, cause you guys you know as well as I do. And most anybody in ag knows it's just a capital game, and it's just too hard to get into, and it's not easy. And honestly, I don't know, maybe we're crazy, but smart people might go find something else to do. But when you love it, you want to try and find any way you can to try and stay in it and do what you can. So
yeah, and you've done a great job. You got some cows now. You said you hover around 50.
Yeah, yep. We got around 50 pairs, and we sold a bunch of cows here. It would have been probably last November. We kind of wanted to switch gears. We wanted to try and start backgrounding some stuff. I've kind of found that there's a little bit more money in that. And our biggest deal is pastures. It was hard to come by, and renting pastures it just didn't make any sense. You just kind of put the pencil to the paper again and started looking at things, and you're like, I just don't know if this is the smartest thing to do. We've got so many cover crops and so many like corn stalks and stuff around us that it's just like, we could raise a whole lot more backgrounding stockers and stuff like that than we could cows, because we don't have to worry about having the grass and anything else. So that's kind of where we're trying to slowly transition over to. But yeah, we do have some cows, and then I guess we truck as well now too. And we're just kind of trying to dabble into a few little things to just keep this whole thing afloat. I'm trying to be proactive. I know that you're only going to need more and more as time goes on, and I've got 2 boys, of course, now, and I just want to give them I don't want them to have to feel like they have to come back, but I want them to have the option, you know, if it does come down to that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, take us into, you know, the crew was probably there 5-6 days, you know, for you, for us, you know, into your home. You know, you just had, I guess your oldest was one at the time.
Yeah.
You know, what was that like? Bring us into your thoughts and like following you around the farm, coming inside your house at like 4:30 a.m. Like, what'd you think? Or what'd your wife think? It's Bella. What'd Bella think of the whole situation?
Yeah. You know,
Reminisce back to that time.
Yeah. Weird. I'll say that, weird. You know, you're not used to everybody being, you know, at your house, you know, as the sun comes up and kind of watching your every move and doing everything. But it was pretty cool. I mean, I'm sure you guys can relate. And it was a pretty cool thing to see. And honestly, I thought it would have been more of, you know, we're not going to get really anything done while they're here this whole week. But honestly, they only made us come back a few times. We're like, oh, could you just do that again? Could you just do this again? And it only happened a handful of times. And, you know, we still got through, you know, a normal day. I can't say that we got anything less done than we regularly would. But, you know, I'm just glad we didn't have as many catastrophes as we usually do on camera. So that was a decent.
I think that's kind of what was cool is like how real it all was. Like, to your point, you didn't stop what you were doing. And also a lot of the time, you know, you can't just not farm for a few days, especially when you're on the time crunch that you usually are. So I think that shone through really every episode was that this is literally a day in the life, you know, and unexpected things happen. But really all of it's unexpected for the viewer.
Well, and that's what was awesome too. It was just natural. It was just kind of a natural film every show was pretty natural and just showed you what it was, you know, and they covered you guys, chickens, cattle, us, everything we do, produce, you know, firewood, everything. And they just kind of flowed and told the story. And I think they did a great job with all of them. So have you had a chance to watch the other ones?
You know, I honestly, I haven't gotten a chance to watch. I watched an episode or two, but I haven't had a chance to watch all of them. That's still on my to-do list, but it seems like anytime when I get home, that's the only chance I get to watch episodes.
Yeah. Well, they're on YouTube now, which makes them really easy to find. So I think that's part of what's cool about going back and interviewing everyone that was on, you know, season 1 of the show is it's kind of an opportunity to like, you know, revisit the experience. And if you didn't see some of them, for viewers, they're all on YouTube now. So Ragan and Massey's YouTube channel, or just search Farms of America. It's really easy to find them now. So that's fun. I want to ask you about your family and your help there at the farm. And as you switch gears and grow and scale, and we know just as you probably do, that growing doesn't always mean that you're doing more doesn't always mean better, but you can't do it alone, right? And so bring us up to speed. In the show, your cousin was there. Your dad was still helping a little bit. There was a neighbor kid who I think maybe was in high school at the time. So give us an update on everybody.
Yeah. James, our neighbor kid that still helps us out. Next door. He's only 16 now, so I mean he's still pretty young. He'll be around for a few more years, and you know I can see myself in him. You know he wants to farm and he wants to do the whole thing. And I said, "You sure you want to do that?" I said, "It's going to come with a lot of headaches and a lot of sleepless nights and stuff, but he's pretty eager to do it. So you know I'm going to help him out as long as I can and as long as I'm able." So that's kind of the story on him and Dad. You know he's still got his full-time job and he's creeping up on retirement, so that means he's only going to be more of a pain in my back because he's going to.
I was going to say more available to help you.
Yeah, more available and more ideas, and maybe we should do this way and that way. And it's like, Dad, don't you have anything else to do, kind of deal? But no, it'll be good to have him around a little more. And my cousin, you know, he's never seen, you know, a farm in his life when he started. So to see where he's come to, it's pretty cool. You know, I didn't come. My parents didn't farm. You know, we kind of had a farming background and I grew up in small town. But I mean, that's the only thing I've ever done is farm. So, you know, I may not be a farm kid, but I've known everything about farming since I was 6 years old. So I guess it's a little bit different because I just kind of knew how everything should work and how it runs. But he didn't. You know, he came from a city and, you know, not only another city, but another country where things are just completely different because our family, you know, is from Angola, Africa. So
where was your cousin from? And then when did he come just to help you, or like bring us
No,
like give us that?
Yeah, so where my parents are from, he came here probably, I want to say it's been 3.5 years now or so since he came over, but there's just it's kind of sad to see, but there's just not a whole lot to do anymore. The economy's just gotten to be kind of so bad that you have all these kids, like, he went to college, has a 4-year degree, and then they just can't find a job. So he's like, well, I don't really have an option here. So he was lucky enough to get to come here, because that's another thing that's kind of tough. Somebody that's educated and has a degree and wants to work in things. It's not as easy as people think it is to get over here to the States. You have to apply for a visa, and they just kind of pick and choose who they let come over, and who they won't. So he was lucky enough to get to come here, and obviously you can go find a lot of jobs and you're probably going to make the same. And, he thought, why not maybe work with family? We'll try this whole deal out. And obviously family, it's a little bit harder to get along, but, we've kind of found our way that he's learned enough that, day to day, he pretty much runs the barns himself. He's learned that much and has grown that much that he can take care of things for the most part without me needing to be there. So, I can help try and grow the cattle side, grow the trucking side, all that kind of stuff. And he can just run that. We've kind of found that it works out better, and we don't, sometimes I was like, well, I don't know if you're doing that quite right. And I might tell him, and that's when we start getting in trouble, or we start getting heads where, I just gotta, let go a little bit, and it's kind of his reign. He's managing it. So you got to let the person that's managing it manage it. And that's kind of where we got to now. And it's kind of, it's pretty cool to see, because like you said, growing pains they're hard, and it's not every day you can find somebody that can, help out in the operation the way he's been doing. So.
Well, there's more than one way to do it right? And so sometimes it's hard to step back and let someone else figure out their right way to do it. But I mean, you can trust him, and, I know you have a lot of like really great help that
I think we've noticed, even within talking to the farms again, everyone from season 1, like it's kind of what they seem all successful, right? Every episode we've seen and everyone we talk to, they kind of specify jobs, and they're going to have their input once in a while or once a quarter, or like evaluate, but they let them go. And if you find good help that can do it, it's kind of been a common theme talking to a lot of these farms, so that's interesting. You said the same thing. Even you kind of in year 6, venturing out into some different stuff, you just kind of gotta, if this part of the operation is running smoothly in your mind, and there's time for you to tackle something else, is kind of what we've seen with other ones.
So bring us up to speed. Like, where are you at in your season right now in terms of the chickens? And do you have any there on site? I mean, I thought it was pretty funny. We got almost all the way through the episode, and I hadn't even realized that we hadn't actually even seen a chicken yet, because I just felt so educated, and you're seeing in the barns everything. I was like, oh my gosh, we're actually not even seeing a chicken, but it didn't faze me. I didn't even notice. So that was really interesting how the whole cycle works. So where are you at in that right now?
Yeah. Yep. So right now we're about midway through one of our cycles, one of our 6-week cycles, where we've got birds. So they're about 15 to 20 days. We'll keep them for another, 20, 25 days, and then they'll ship out. So that's where we're at with that. Wintertime, it's a little bit nicer, obviously probably for everybody. There's not as much to do outside. We're just kind of playing maintenance in the shop, trying to service equipment, do all that kind of stuff. But obviously this time of the year is kind of tough for us though, as far as the weather changing, because when it starts getting cold, that's when we really start spending the dollars. Because when we first get birds, it's got to be 90 degrees in our chicken barns, and they're 600 foot long. So you can imagine how much propane you go through when it's got to be 90 degrees in a 600 foot building, and you've got 8 of them. So, I mean, that truck just, we all just kind of look at each other and, put our heads down every time that propane truck rolls in. It's a whole transport load. So
we know what it costs just for 4 or 5 greenhouses, and they're only running 2 months, maybe February and March, right? And we know what that costs. So do they fill all, you said 8 barns?
Yeah.
They fill them all once, or is it like staggered? How's that process work?
No, so we're all in and all out, kind of pretty much for a disease control purpose, and I guess for the plant, part of it makes it easier on them, because they can handle about a site my size. Our 8 barns are 35,000 birds. They can handle what we've got, in a 24 to 36 hour period. So they just kind of want to go to the same place, harvest all them, and then, obviously go to the next place and do that. And of course, with disease control as well, too, we don't, as birds are, I don't know, they're pretty fragile. I guess anything that's in a controlled environment inside is probably going to be a little more temperamental than any other animal. So you don't want a bunch of different age birds, on the same place at the same time, because obviously younger ones, they may not be that big of a bacteria or disease or whatever the case may be. But say you go into a barn that's got birds that are 10 days old, and then you go into a house that's got birds that are 30 days old, if you go back and forth between the two, those 10-day-old birds might not be able to handle or have the immune system, as some of those older birds. And then you'd start to have this problem that you're constantly dealing with. So we're pretty much, like I said, all in and all out. So everything comes in and everything leaves at the same time.
So it was a pretty big bad rush when the crew was there to kind of get everything cleaned out or windrowed, and then the next. What time period's that normally? It's 6 weeks, and then you have week and a half, 2 weeks, or not even?
Yeah, about 17 days, give or take. Sometimes a little shorter, maybe sometimes a little bit longer. But yeah, it was a little bit busier time of the year for us, I guess, because we were taking out manure, and we don't take out manure all the time. We usually generally take out manure. We've done it. We've tried to do it a few different ways where we try and do it, periodically, where we take out a little bit here, take out a little bit there. But we've kind of found out that just taking it all out at once, rebedding the barns and being done with it was kind of the best way to go. But yeah, that was the process we were in at the time when they were there. We were cleaning out, theoretically just cleaning out the barns, taking the manure out, trying to get it, over to the fields that we're gonna spread on, that fall. And I guess we've kind of switched gears where we used to take it out in the spring because we thought, we can build manure back up, because the manure is a little bit of a heat source. So we wanted to try and build that heat source back up before winter time comes along. So that way we don't spend so much heat. But we found that we didn't think it really made that much of a difference. So we started taking out manure in the fall. So here we are. We just finished cleaning out here, a month ago or so. We found, it's been a lot easier after all the crops are out. We don't have to try and fight with taking down end rows, or, if we've got guys that we're selling a little bit of manure to, where they're like, well, we don't have a place for it, we don't want it. We've got crops in the ground, even though it didn't take up that much room. It was just harder to manage. So we just figured we'd just wait till fall, take it all out at once, and then, do it that way. So that
makes sense, because then you can take it right to your manure customers too, and spread it and everything's good. And
yeah. But anytime you don't have to deal with it twice, that's about the best.
Z,
where'd you go?
he might still be there.
I think he dropped. He'll probably call back. Hey, we got you back.
Yeah, I'm sorry my computer is, I don't know, maybe I guess it's time for a new one. It's my college computer, and I guess the battery will just quit and it'll just die, and now it just turned back on. It says 62%, but I switched to my phone. That way we don't have to worry about it. We'll be safe now.
Okay. No, you look great. It looks fine. Yeah. You're good just like that. Okay, I was just telling Matt, something I'm really curious about and want to pick your brain on is just that kind of that business structure of a 15-year contract. And if you would recommend that to, other, young beginning farmers looking to get into this, if you've had a good experience with it, if you plan on kind of re-upping and doing another one. So just take us into that a little bit.
Yeah, no, in my opinion, I would think that, a 15-year contract, obviously it'd be a good thing. It'd be some security. You kind of know what you're going to make, but within that contract, I guess the one thing I would recommend to a younger producer, anybody that's wanting to get into something that's got a contract that long, right, is to make sure there's, kind of some stipulations in there that say, the price in that contract, whatever it says, isn't going to stay the same, for those 15 years. Because we've found that, obviously you've got inflation, you've got added costs, things that they're not going to stay the same. Every few years, things are going to go up. And it seems like it's kind of been that way in the ag world, where, the economy and everybody thinks that the price should just go up a little, but everything else can continue to go up, much faster than that. And anybody can do, simple economics that just doesn't make any sense. And the fact that us as farmers have been trying to do that or have done it for so long is just kind of kind of mind boggling. So that's the one thing I would recommend to somebody is to make sure that there is something in that contract saying that the price, is going to increase as inflation goes up, because there's no reason that somebody should have to work their butt off, to not make enough money because the price, isn't increasing the way it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So do you feel like, generally speaking, you have a little bit of negotiating control? I mean, it's not just sort of, here's what it is, take it or leave it. You can sort of, because everyone's situation's a little different, right?
Yeah. So I guess ours it is kind of a take it or leave it process. I mean, they've been pretty good to work with, to where obviously, they listen and they see, they ask for input. They say, hey, what are your guys' costs? Like, what's happening? What's going on? And we've had, in 6 years, we've had a few, pay increases, as things have changed. Is it perfect? No. Is it probably ever going to be perfect? Probably not. But, at least they're stepping up to the table and willing to work and try and keep everybody happy and raise the prices as necessary. We have an annual meeting every year where they ask for, our numbers, and we give them our numbers, and they evaluate that and look and say, okay, well, this is everybody's cost. Like, well, shoot, maybe we need to go up with this. Maybe we need to go down with that. All those kinds of things. So yeah, we've had a little bit of borrowing, or I guess negotiating power, and been able to, keep increasing things, as times go on. So
that's good. It seems like a genuine partnership as much as maybe it can be. So that's great. So at the end of these 15 years, you'll own, well, I don't know, like on your financing side, what your terms are, but at some point, right, you'll own your barns and you'll be at the end of that contract. So what's next? What's on the horizon? More and more chickens?
Well, we don't want to put, I guess it's a play on words. We don't want to put all our eggs in one basket, but yeah, we'll definitely probably try and stay in the chicken game, because it's been pretty good so far. But those barns, they say, are supposed to last 20 to 30 years. So, obviously after our contract is up, we'll probably, renegotiate whatever contract's on the table at that point. And of course, everybody's financing side is different. It's supposed to be a 15, at most kind of 15-year deal, where at the end of your contract, your barns would be paid off. And obviously if you're in a different position, maybe some guys are 10, some are 5, maybe some are even a little bit longer. It just depends on the scenario. But yeah, we're definitely gonna run some more, after that 15 years, as long as those barns as long as it doesn't cost more to upkeep them than it does to put a bird in it, we'll keep running those ones. And when the time comes, maybe, we might decide to, put up some more. Or maybe by that point we already have more, and we just, kind of transition those ones out into something else. Cause I guess another big thing, I guess, it's kind of on the start is having cattle, having feeders and stuff in some of those kinds of barns. After they're, no good for birds anymore, it's outdated, technology is no good, all that stuff. You can pretty much open them up to where, we've got end doors on both sides where, we can keep those will stay open. And then we start, stripping some of the walls and opening them so that there's a little more airflow, and then just put bunks in them, and you can raise cattle out of them. So that's something, we're going to keep in mind when those barns finally do, get to be to the point where they're not usable anymore. But I guess we're a long ways away from there, from that point yet anyway.
You say that, but it happens fast, Z. Like, we just got out of the diaper stage, and oldest is 11, but it flies. So, but at least,
you have a vision, right?
No,
like, it's
exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. You have a vision, you have options, I think sometimes farming can be really difficult if you're not sure what the future looks like, if you just can't quite figure it out. But it seems like you have a lot of great ideas.
Well, great ideas, but I don't know if there's got to be some execution too, I guess, and a lot of God in there too. I don't know.
That's the main word. And Dad's going to be retired, so he's got plenty of ideas too. So
oh my gosh, I can't wait to hear about these ideas. I like him. Your dad seems like, Matt always gives me a hard time in our family, in our world. Like, I'm kind of that idea person. I'm always like, what? Have you tried this? What if you tried that? And he's like, no. So I feel kindred spirit with your dad. You got to have both.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so Zemua, a couple more questions. I'm curious, obviously your wife, Bella, is, plays a huge role in supporting you and doing everything she does at home to carry the load. So tell us a little bit about Bella. How did you guys meet in school somewhere? Did she kind of know you first as a wrestler or a farmer, or tell us a little bit about Bella?
Yeah. So Bella and I, we met at college. Technically, I guess. It was kind of funny because there was a concert. I would have been, I think, a junior, and she was a freshman, maybe. And we had this, I guess, as they call it, a pretty little pregame or whatever before the concert at our house. And
never heard of it.
Yeah, right. I can't say that I was completely innocent. So,
yeah.
So we invited a bunch of people over, and it's kind of funny. She showed up with some people, and we never even thought twice about it, but we look back now, there was a picture that we all took as a group and we're standing next to each other in that picture. And I mean, we knew each other's name. That was about it. And it was a few years that went by before we ever started talking. I had graduated already and I was already back farming. And
oh, wow.
Well, I don't know. I knew who she was and I was like, oh, she's pretty cute. I was like, I should probably try and see if I can take her on a date. And it kind of worked out and we went on a date. And I guess it's been a couple kids later since then. So
yeah, that's
love
cool.
Story.
What does she do? She's in healthcare. Is that right?
So her degree was in ag communications.
Oh, okay.
So she worked for a local co-op, and I think she probably worked for the local co-op during the episode, I guess, probably when that happened. But since then, she's kind of decided, after we had our second, she decided she wanted to stay home. That's kind of what she's always wanted to do. And we just kind of, ran some numbers and did some things, and we figured, it's going to be tough, but if she gets to raise our kids and she's going to be happy doing it and all those kinds of things, that's what we wanted to do. So now she's at home full time, and, it's been pretty good. Everybody, there's a lot of people that say you can't make it work today and it just can't work. They say there's got to be two people working. I guess, yeah, but I mean, with anything, if you want to find a way, you'll figure it out. And you can find a way to do it. And we did, we kind of she was driving, 45 minutes to work both ways. So it's like you put in the gas, the time on a vehicle, the $20,000 or $30,000 in daycare for two kids and everything else. At the end of the day, it just almost becomes a wash. I mean, you might lose a little bit, but it's not near as much as what, somebody might think.
We had the same spreadsheet, man, the same conversation of it was $23,000 some odd dollars for daycare, meals, even the women's times of getting ready in the morning to go to work and then drive and all that.
It's different for us guys.
Yeah. So we had the same conversation. I saw something, it was like 85 grand in this day and age is what a stay-at-home mom, adds to the table, or like the salary they save basically. So yeah, I think more and more, if you can try and make it work and you guys can put some effort into it, anything's going to work. So.
Yeah. I think you'll find too, Bella seems pretty smart and that she wants to support you and help, and she's got her hands full right now. She doesn't have that much free time during the day, but it is fun to be able to figure out how to contribute to your farm and your husband's business and everything. So I'm guessing over the years she's going to support you in a lot of different ways.
Oh, yeah.
And that will absolutely pay off.
Yeah, I mean, with how much she has to do already with two little kids, I mean, you couldn't pay me to do it. I'll be honest with you. If I had to stay home with them all day, I think I'd lose my mind. They're a lot of work, and I can remember for everything she's done, and even with that going on, and shoot, she's still helped out quite a bit because like, I kind of need that part, and it's over in this town, or I need this, or I need that, and every time, even though I know she probably half the time doesn't want to put the kids in the car seat and get in the car and go, she still does it. And that's been a huge help. And then, with some of the book work and, some of the other things, doesn't have a whole lot of time, but even just little things like she can do, like put a check in the mail or do this and that, it all of it just helps. And I know obviously it's only going to get better and better as kids get older, and, she's got a little more time, and, she'll obviously, like you guys said, add some value, to the operation that, I guess kind of gets taken for granted, or, you don't even realize. So.
I think a lot of people don't realize the administrative time that goes into farming, because yes, you're farming and you're out there doing the work, but you're running, for most farms, like kind of a multi-million-dollar business as like CEO while you're farming, and the administrative overhead, time that goes into that is kind of invisible labor for a lot of farmers and their families. So there's a lot for you to do, and there's a lot for her to help with. And I'm excited for your future, for you guys to be able to do all that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I guess that adds something that I guess I want to throw a question back your guys' way. When you're talking, farms, there's a lot of money being thrown around, and, you play with a lot of dollars and everything else. And as trying to be a CEO and trying to run it and do everything else, farms they really don't run until you get to, a really, really big size that most farms aren't at, where they have somebody that just takes care of those numbers and things like that. How do you guys deal with that? And what have you guys seen as far as all that goes? Because, it should be something where almost with the amount of dollars you play with, it should be somebody's full-time job to be looking at everything, and are we as efficient as we should be, and all those kinds of things.
I think we've just started, this within the last even year and a half, just trying to add people to your team per se, like a local accountant that you can trust or has a little farm background. And we've kind of tried to add that to the list of just, because I was like you, just kind of end of the year, you need pieces of equipment, but you need this, but we're trying to get a little more zeroed in look on everything that we do too.
When you're diversified, that's really hard. Yeah. It's really like difficult.
Trucking, cattle,
right.
Chickens, you're starting to get to that point where there is 3, 4, 5 businesses. So two-part answer, add stuff to your team that makes sense, that you can budget in, that can add that dollar at the end of your year, like a good accountant or something can run through your numbers. Then with us, just like you did with the cow-calf operation, hey, those numbers aren't really working. It makes more sense. My model fits this. Go to those backgrounding. It seems like you're doing that. So yeah, just keep.
You have a really close relationship with our banker.
Yeah.
You guys spend a lot of time together. Yeah. Just going over numbers and being super detail oriented about it is really going to pay off.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, as we kind of wrap up, Z, I just want to say congrats, because first generation took that plunge at that age. That is, you just hear all the time, right? Oh, I can't get an egg. It's too expensive. I can't buy land. And a lot of times it's true, but you've got to find unique ways to make it happen and make it work. And
there's a will, there's a way, and you had the will.
Yeah.
For sure.
Big kudos to that, man. So
yeah,
keep grinding, keep popping out kids, get them wrestling.
Relax.
We're good. Yeah. Keep popping out boys, man. I had 3 girls. I used to have 1 boy, so.
But all 3 of our girls are little wrestlers. So you're going to keep throwing some girls in there. You're going to be all right. Girl wrestling is huge in Iowa.
Yeah, it's starting to become a big thing in Nebraska too. It probably started here, 3 or 4 years ago. And they have tripled in size. The state tournament was this, and we were together for a few years, and this year we had to finally separate it because it was getting to be too long. That tournament, there were so many girls now that, it was just cool to see that, it's taken that much. Mm-hmm. People have loved it that much that it's grown to the point where we had to switch everything to where, we need another state tournament to make it all go around. So It's good. I'm glad, because, I guess it was tough growing up. I don't know I'm sure it was the same for you guys, obviously, but there wasn't girls wrestling. So the girls, if they wanted to wrestle, they just got thrown in with the boys, and it wasn't really fair.
Yeah. It wasn't even a thought in my mind growing up that it was even a sport that girls were interested in, because it was just not really an option at all. But when our daughter, she's 11 now, when she first started wrestling, she was wrestling boys. She was the only one out there as a girl. And then literally in
that time span.
Yes. Within just a couple of years, all of a sudden it was just of what you're saying right now. So it's been pretty rapid, and
she's starting to learn what to yell from the sidelines.
Oh man, see, I just figured out I didn't know when to yell 2, and it's not 2 anymore.
Yeah,
shoot.
It's very, yeah.
Well, hey man, have a good Friday. Like I said, keep grinding. Huge congratulations, and if you get a chance, I know it's tough. Catch some of those other episodes, and then we'll keep checking in for sure.
Yeah, go get some work done, Z.
Yeah, no, for sure. It was good. I'm glad we got this conversation, and for you guys and Joe and the others in the background and stuff. We'll have to, for people that aren't so far away, or even the ones that are we're all far away, I guess, from each other, but we'll have to find some weekend or something where, you know, everybody from all the episodes, you know, gets together for something. You know, it'd be cool to, you know, see each other in person and, you know, get to have this conversation again. So
Ragan and Massey's Farms of America podcast, brought to you by Ragan and Massey. Visit the Ragan and Massey YouTube channel to watch the show.